1994. Upminster, Essex. A shop till, closing time. A cashier lifts a 20-pound note toward the lamp behind the counter, the way she does with every note over 10, out of habit more than suspicion. The watermark sits where it should. She runs a thumb across the paper. The texture is right. She feeds it under the UV light anyway, because the till has one, and she was trained to use it. It passes. She doesn't think about it again. Neither does the next cashier, 3 streets away, who checks a different 20 an hour later, the paper cool and slightly stiff between her fingers, exactly the way it should feel. Neither does the bank clerk who counts a stack of 50s into a drawer the following morning, flicking through them the way you flick through a deck of cards, fast, practiced, certain. A supervisor at a different branch runs a random sample through a counting machine 2 days later. The machine reads them as genuine. It has no reason not to. It was built to catch paper that behaves differently under light and touch, and this paper behaves exactly the same. None of them know they are holding paper that was never supposed to exist. Somewhere, a press is still running. It has been running for years, and nobody, not a shopkeeper, not a bank, not Scotland Yard, has found it. How does a piece of paper defeat 3 separate layers of security, each one designed specifically to make forgery impossible? Why does it take this long for anyone to notice? And who has the patience, the skill, and the reason to spend 4 years perfecting something this precise? Kenneth Mainstone runs a small printing company out of Upminster called Intech Graphics. 2-color press, business cards, restaurant menus, flyers for the local curry house. The kind of work that keeps the lights on and puts you to sleep by 3 in the afternoon. He has never been arrested, never been investigated, never so much as appeared on a police radar in his entire life. To his neighbors, in a street of trimmed hedges and clean driveways, the kind of neighborhood defined by the fact that nothing ever happens in it, he is a quiet man approaching retirement. Reliable,
Good morning.
unremarkable.
Morning.
The sort of person you nod to on a Tuesday morning and forget about by lunch. There is one detail that does not quite fit the picture. Mainstone has spent a working lifetime behind a printing press capable of producing menus and business cards, and nothing more. A 2-color machine has a ceiling. It cannot register fine detail. It cannot layer color with precision. For a man who has spent decades learning ink, pressure, and registration down to the fraction of a millimeter, it is a career spent operating at a fraction of what his hands actually know how to do. Nobody around him notices this. Why would they? It looks like patience. It looks like a man content with a small, honest business. A man who arrives early, locks up late, and takes no holidays that anyone can remember. There is a version of this story where that patience is the whole character. A quiet tradesman, content to let his best years run through a machine built for menus. But patience worn for decades in a trade that never once uses the full range of what you know has a way of turning into something else. Quietly, without anyone, including the man himself, marking the exact day it happened. 200 miles away in outlook, but not in origin, is Steven Jory, born in Hackney, East London, in 1949, raised in a version of the underworld that valued craft over violence. Jory didn't rob, he didn't threaten. He built things that looked real enough to fool anyone who wasn't looking for a fake. In 1985, police caught him manufacturing counterfeit perfume, not knockoffs sold out of a car boot, but convincing replicas, roughly 5 million bottles of fake Chanel No. 5, packaged and moved as the genuine product. It cost him a prison sentence. It also revealed how Jory worked. He never made anything himself. He found the best craftsman for the job and recruited him. By 1994, Jory has an idea bigger than perfume, bigger than anything he has tried before. He needs a printer, not a good one, the best one. Someone who has spent a lifetime behind a press and has nowhere left to put that skill. How the 2 men meet is unclear. What happens after is not. British banknotes carry 3 separate layers of security, and each one exists to defeat a different kind of forger. The first is the watermark, the Queen's portrait, pressed into the paper itself during manufacturing, not printed onto the surface. It cannot be photocopied. It cannot be scanned. It lives inside the material, which means it cannot be faked by anyone who only knows how to put ink on paper. The second is a metallic security thread, woven vertically through the note during production. positioned and weighted with a precision no ordinary print shop could reproduce. The third is invisible in daylight. Genuine notes carry an ultraviolet signature, a reaction visible only under UV light, used by shopkeepers and banks at the point of sale to catch counterfeits in seconds. 3 defenses, 3 different disciplines. The Bank of England did not build this system to stop a criminal. It built it to make the entire concept of counterfeiting obsolete. A set of features so specific, so material, so embedded in the manufacturing process itself, that no external printer, however skilled, was ever expected to reach them. A watermark inside the paper. A thread that cannot be photocopied because it isn't ink at all. A reaction under ultraviolet light that only exists if you control the chemistry of the note from the very first stage of production. Each layer alone would stop most forgers cold. Together, they were considered, for decades, uncrackable. Not because nobody had tried, but because cracking all 3 required someone fluent in paper, someone fluent in metal, and someone fluent in light, all at once. It was not designed to be defeated by one man working alone in a garden shed, which is precisely the assumption Kenneth Mainstone is about to prove wrong. Behind Mainstone's home, set back from the road and screened by his own garden, there is an outhouse. It looks like nothing, a garden structure, storage space, the kind of building you would walk past without a second glance. Inside it sits a 4-color Heidelberg offset lithograph press, industrial grade, professional caliber, capable of a level of color precision that his legitimate 2-color machine could never touch. When police eventually find it, they will confirm something remarkable. It is the only illegal press of this caliber ever discovered in Britain. One detail from Mainstone's paper supply chain will matter more than anyone realizes at the time. A man named Edward Burns, 67 years old, supplies the paper stock that feeds both sides of Mainstone's operation. The legitimate flyers and menus on one hand, and, eventually, something else entirely on the other. Nobody separates the 2 streams especially carefully. There is no reason to. It is just paper. A 2-color press can produce a flyer. It can produce a menu. It cannot produce money. Jory doesn't want Mainstone's legitimate machine. He needs something else, and Mainstone already knows exactly where to put it. There is no dramatic scene here. No declaration, no argument, no moment of doubt spoken aloud. A press is ordered. A press arrives. A door closes on an outbuilding that, from the street, looks exactly like it did the week before. That is the whole of it. The most consequential decision of Kenneth Mainstone's life looks, from the outside, like nothing at all. Jory and Mainstone build a network, and every member of it receives a code name. Jory's idea, Jory's assignment. Mainstone's is Biggles, after the fictional British fighter pilot from a children's adventure series, a daring hero hidden behind a mild, gentlemanly exterior. Jory, it seems, has a sense of humor. The rest of the network fills in around them. Ferrier, Watmore, and Edward Burns supplying paper. But the operation lives or dies on 2 men only. Jory, who understands the criminal world, and Mainstone, who understands ink. They never speak by phone. Communication runs through pagers, short, coded messages. Nothing that could be traced to a face or a voice. And now Mainstone has to solve the problem the Bank of England built its entire security system to make unsolvable. The watermark is the one piece of the system that cannot, in principle, be printed. Because it isn't printed on genuine notes at all, it's built into the paper. Mainstone doesn't try to recreate it. He works around it, printing an extremely faint lithographic image, so light it is nearly invisible on the surface of the note. Held up to a lamp, it throws a shadow that mimics the shape of a genuine watermark, closely enough that the eye reads it as real. It isn't. It only has to look like it is. The metallic thread is next, a thin strip of foil, embedded into each counterfeit note at the correct position, the correct depth, running exactly where a genuine thread would run. The ultraviolet layer comes last, and it is the one that depends least on any single trick and most on the sum of everything before it. The right ink, the right paper stock, the right combination of materials reacting the way a shopkeeper's UV lamp expects genuine currency to react. Notes come off the Heidelberg that pass every standard check available at a till or a bank counter. Visual, tactile, ultraviolet, all clear. Inspector Clive Merritt of Scotland Yard's Counterfeit Currency Unit will later examine samples of Mainstone's work and deliver a verdict no detective wants to give about a criminal's craftsmanship, the most convincing forgery he has ever seen. It is not a compliment, it is an alarm, because if Scotland Yard's own expert struggles to separate these notes from genuine ones under laboratory conditions, a cashier working a Friday night till stands no chance at all. Monday mornings, Kenneth Mainstone opens the doors of Intech Graphics like always. Clients walk in. They order business cards, flyers, restaurant menus. The two-color press hums through the working day, producing paper that nobody looks at twice. The same hands that print a takeaway menu for the curry house down the road also, somewhere else entirely, print flawless 20-pound notes. At home, the neighbors continue to see exactly what they have always seen: a trimmed garden, a modest car, a man who never spends beyond his means and never breaks his routine. He understands something most people in his position never grasp. The perfect disguise isn't a clever lie. It's being boring. He signs his pager messages Biggles, a children's book code name hiding the operator of the largest counterfeiting press in the country. There is something almost absurd in that detail, and it never once slows him down. 4 years pass this way. No slip, no suspicion, no investigation. The double life doesn't strain Kenneth Mainstone, it sustains him. There is a particular kind of relief, it seems, in finally using everything you know, and an equal opposite discipline in never once letting it show on your face at the till, at the school run, at the pub on a Friday. The outhouse door opens and closes on a schedule nobody else in Upminster ever notices, because there is nothing about it to notice. A light switch, a hum through the wall for a few hours, then silence again, and a man walking back into his own kitchen, the same as he walked out of it. By the time it ends, the numbers are staggering. 50 million pounds in counterfeit currency. 2 out of every 3 fake notes in circulation across Britain, traced back to one outhouse, behind one house, on one quiet street in Essex. A counterfeit 20, handed over in Manchester. A fake 50, spent at a pub in Birmingham. All of it, eventually, leads to the same room. Scotland Yard knows the notes exist. They have known for years. The quality is unlike anything in their records, and the volume keeps climbing. Every lead dies before it goes anywhere. 4 years, 50 million pounds, 0 arrests, 0 suspects. It would keep running, except for something so small, the person responsible probably never even noticed doing it. It happens the way these things usually happen. Not through brilliant detective work, not through months of surveillance, not through an informant whispering a name in a back room. It happens because of a piece of paper. Scotland Yard seizes another bundle of counterfeit 20s. Routine by this point. The notes go to the Counterfeit Currency Unit for examination. Same quality, same dead end, same nothing. Except this time, a detective notices something tucked inside the bundle that has no business being there. Not a banknote, not a code. An advertisement for Caravans. He turns it over. Small print along the bottom edge, printed by Intech Graphics. He looks the company up. A small print shop in Essex. 2-color press. Business cards, flyers, brochures. Company director, Kenneth Mainstone. Registered address, Upminster. It takes a moment for the weight of that to land. A man capable of replicating the Bank of England's most secure documents. Undone by a stray flyer for a caravan company, his own advertisement, from his own legitimate business, caught up somewhere in the paper supply feeding the Heidelberg, and swept into a bundle of forged notes by pure accident. Nobody separated the streams. Nobody checked. 4 years of the most sophisticated counterfeiting operation in British history, and the thread that unravels it is junk mail. From here, everything that was impossible for 4 years becomes simple within weeks. Records, filings, addresses. The connections draw themselves. Police find Steven Jory's pager at Ferrier's home, and the messages stored inside read like a roadmap.
All roads
Names,
lead to here.
references,
Secure the area.
the shape of the
No one
entire
enters
network.
without authorization.
Coded,
Enfield.
but
This is
legible
the
to
place.
anyone who knows how to look. They track Jory
Copy
to a
that.
TGI Fridays
Moving
car
now.
park in Enfield, North London, attempting to pass counterfeit notes.
Police!
The old school villain,
Don't move!
a man who built an empire on craft and patience, is arrested in the parking lot of an American chain restaurant. The raids follow. Mainstone's home, the outhouse, the four-color Heidelberg, still standing, still operational, 4 years of evidence embedded in its rollers. Scotland Yard names the gang the Lavender Hill Mob, after the 1951 Ealing comedy about a group of bumbling criminals attempting to steal gold bullion. The joke is not accidental. Jory, Ferrier, and Watmore plead guilty almost immediately. They look at the evidence and do the math. Kenneth Mainstone does not. He wants a trial, and he arrives with a defense prepared. The first is total denial. He has no knowledge of any counterfeiting operation. Yes, the Heidelberg sits in his outhouse. Yes, he owns the property, but what it was used for, he insists, he cannot say. He is a legitimate businessman. 2-color press, business cards. The prosecution answers with 4 years of production records, £50 million in counterfeit currency, his printing press, his home, and pager messages signed Biggles in his own hand. The denial doesn't hold, so Mainstone shifts. He acknowledges that Jory used the Heidelberg, but insists it wasn't for counterfeiting. He believed, he tells the court, that Jory was using the press to print adult magazines. Material Jory was supposedly too embarrassed to produce through ordinary channels. Mainstone, being a gentleman, chose not to ask questions. It does not land either. The man whose outhouse contains the only illegal 4-color Heidelberg ever found in Britain, a press responsible for 2/3 of every counterfeit note in the country, is asking a jury to believe he thought his partner was printing pornography. So he tries once more. A third defense. There was someone else, a man named Eric, a friend, who actually operated the press. Eric ran the Heidelberg. Eric printed the notes. Mainstone merely owned the building and had no involvement. Police investigate. They search records, cross-reference contacts, interview everyone in the network. Eric cannot be found. Eric cannot be identified. By every available piece of evidence, Eric does not exist. A phantom operator invented for a press that, until this point, had never needed an alibi. The jury does not believe Kenneth Mainstone. One man walks free. Edward Burns, the paper supplier, acquitted on the grounds that he genuinely did not know what his product was being used for. He is the only member of the Lavender Hill Mob to leave Winchester Crown Court a free man. Everyone else faces Judge Michael Brick. He has spent 3 months reviewing 4 years of evidence. £50 million, 2/3 of the fake currency in the country, counterfeit stamps, plans for counterfeit coins, a hidden press, code names, pagers, a network that operated in plain sight for half a decade. He hands down sentences totaling more than 26 years, and then he says the line that will define the case. This operation exists in an entirely different league, not a bigger version of something familiar, something with no precedent. Something that, for 4 years, made the word counterfeit almost meaningless, because for 4 years, the fakes and the real thing were, functionally, the same. The men go to prison. The Heidelberg is seized. The outhouse is emptied out. Biggles sends his last pager message to no one. In a building on Threadneedle Street, the Bank of England finishes work it has quietly been carrying out for some time. A new £20 note. A new watermark, pressed deeper into the paper, engineered specifically to resist lithographic imitation. A new metallic thread, carrying microtext visible only under magnification. New ultraviolet features, calibrated to defeat the exact techniques born in a garden outhouse in Essex. The old counterfeits vanish from circulation. Every fake 20, every fake 50, pulled, identified, destroyed. And yet walk into any shop in Britain today and hand over a £20 note. The confidence you feel in your fingers, the watermark, the thread, the features that tell you this note is real, exist, in part, because a retired printer with no criminal record and a code name borrowed from a children's book once proved that the old ones weren't good enough. The fakes are gone. The change he forced into existence isn't. What would you have done with the skills, the press, and 4 years of nobody watching?